Imagine finding out that the assistant who's about to make your job easier might also be the one taking it. That's AI, or what we're led to believe in 2025. So, is it our friend or foe? That's what we're going to talk about today. So, we're going to unpack the reality behind the AI headlines, and there are many headlines out there. Is it coming for your job or coming to help you do better? Or is it both? Can it be both? Andrew, should we kick off with actually what's going on here? How big a shift do you think this is?
It's absolutely huge, and that's just, I don't know, that's typical British understatement, I guess. It's huge. I don't have a word that summarizes and captures the change that's coming. It's a tsunami of change, and it's just everything from using ChatGPT to create images to businesses using AI to automate and replace people. It's a whole new wave that we're experiencing. And I think you and I are old enough. I think you're old enough to remember the internet coming in and the World Wide Web coming in and changing things. It's as big as that. It's actually, I think, it's much bigger than the internet, which of course was transformative in terms of society and culture. So yeah, it's absolutely huge. And anybody listening to this, I'm sure, in sort of August 2025, will know tools like Midjourney, obviously ChatGPT. That's the poster child of AI that made AI become sort of in the public domain. Claude, Grok. Have I missed any? Uh,
Gemini?
Gemini, Google Gemini, and they're always sort of talking about battling each other and which one's ahead. So yeah, this is, as I say, how do you capture what's happening around us? And I've got some stories to share, which I'll share later on. It's just absolutely ridiculous how massive this change is. So this isn't like technology of the past. This is fundamentally different, and it's a tool that you can access as an individual, on your phone, and it's a tool that's affecting huge global corporations. So going back to you then, Scott, how do you see this playing out at the moment? How do you see this playing out every day in your work and your contacts with
Hmm.
people?
So I kind of see both ends of it, really. I think we're still in very much a hype cycle in
Yeah.
terms of, literally the news in the last few days has been ChatGPT 5 has launched, and Sam Altman was bigging it up to be transformational. And actually, he's had to do a massive backstep in terms of it's been getting a lot of stuff wrong. Some people miss the previous models. Some people have
Mm.
become quite unhealthily attached to some of those, actually, and maybe we'll touch
Yes.
on that a little bit later. Um, so people asked it to draw a map of the US, and it just got loads of things wrong. So I think there's stuff where it gets things wrong and sometimes quite badly, and it's still early days really for the technology. But equally, on the other hand, I know somebody who, for example, needed to think about how to deal with a colleague that was particularly difficult and was challenging, and their supervisor had asked them to have a word with them. They asked Microsoft Copilot, which we didn't mention earlier,
Oh yeah.
to look at all their communication that they'd had with this individual and suggest a recommended approach to broach a difficult conversation. And
Wow.
it literally trawled about 600 emails and Teams conversations and said, these are the kind of things that have come up in the past. Here's the things that you might want to pick up. And it suggested a script. And
Mm.
that took a minute versus how long would it
Yes.
have taken a human to go through all of those emails? You wouldn't have gone through all those
No,
emails.
you wouldn't.
It's that kind of thing where I think it can bring significant benefits in terms of saving time, but also, as we'll touch on, it's also a threat to some of those traditional roles where, it's changing how people operate. So some people don't need a marketing agency anymore. They can just get AI to create a marketing script for them or produce some social media graphics that they can use. Now, in my
Yes.
experience, sometimes they can be terrible. It's still not perfect. But I think we're in this rapid transition to, I think we're still trying to find out what it can do for us. And there's lots of people dabbling in different ways, lots of people using it significantly. Obviously, massive amounts of money and energy are being put into it.
Yes.
So that's a long rambling take on. I think we're still in a rapid transition, and people are learning what it can do, also learning what it can't do. But it is moving so quickly.
Mm.
I think we'll look back in a year's time and go, "Oh, that was kind of quite rubbish what we had back then. It's moving that quick."
Yeah, that expression, people underestimate the change that will happen in 10 years. but overestimate the change that will happen in like 1 year. And what strikes me is we've had ChatGPT 3, wasn't it, that rolled out in 2022? Was it November, I think? So we're in sort of 3 years in to the ChatGPT moment, and people compare it to the sort of browser, Mozilla browser in the start of the internet. When people could have a browser that made accessing the internet very easy in the web. And
What
it's
used to come
probably
on a CD, your internet with
that's
AOL and
right.
everything.
Yeah, exactly. On a
Your
front cover
dial-up
of
modems.
a magazine. That's right. I'll let you make the noise of the modem,
No,
and you
I'll
couldn't use
spare
the
our listeners
phone.
that.
You'd have to edit that in. So I think that what we've got here is we're so used to ChatGPT. Okay, there'll be somebody listening to this, I guess, that hasn't tried ChatGPT or Grok or Claude or Perplexity. Somebody won't have, but I'd be surprised if somebody listening to this hasn't tried one of these tools. But I think we're so used to them now that, as you say, we're in, is it 2-3 days in from ChatGPT 5 launching?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it was overhyped, certainly by Sam Altman, that this is going to be transformative. In fact, he had that, what was that, Death Star? Did you see this? He had the Death Star tweet. He put just
No, I didn't see
days
that.
before. Yeah, it was like, as if like this was going to change the world and blow up the world. And people gone, nah. But what's surprising is it feels like an incremental improvement on the previous versions, but it's still mind-boggling what you can do. We're just so used to it already. That's one of the things.
You're right, yeah. It's like, this is rubbish, but like, wait a minute, it can still do all these things that you couldn't do like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like we take it for granted, like what's next? Because, you can get AI to generate an amazing Hollywood style video that is, all right, it's only 10 seconds long, but yeah.
I think we're going to see AI where we'll creep along in certain areas maybe, and maybe it will plateau, and perhaps we've seen that with some of these LLMs. And in other areas, AI like leapfrogs forward. There was a thing on the news this morning as we were recording this about AI coming up with anti superbug drugs. Did you see that?
Yes.
So I think when we talk about AI, I think the most common usage that people have is the LLM, the sort of ChatGPTs, the Groks, and so on. AI is obviously a huge topic which we're not talking about. So AI as a technology is transforming society. What we're talking about often is LLMs like ChatGPT, which ChatGPT 5 was clearly overhyped, but nevertheless, this technology is transforming the world of work. And as we're talking about in this episode, it's already changed organization. I mean, any sort of examples that you use AI for? Alan, you willing to reveal your secrets, how you're using ChatGPT or similar?
Well, should we be honest with our listeners and say that we do use AI? So when I'm editing these episodes, I get AI to help with some of the scripting. So it will actually translate our audio straight into text.
Yeah.
And I can ask it to give me a summary of the episode. So that helps speed up our process in terms of publishing things like show notes for the podcast.
Yeah.
So it's been really helpful for that as well, as one example.
I'll give an example from this morning. I had a meeting, and I suddenly thought about literally 30 minutes before the meeting that I needed a PowerPoint. I thought, I should have probably put a PowerPoint together. Now, in the past, I probably would have winged it and not put a PowerPoint together. But I went into ChatGPT. I said, can you pull a PowerPoint together? I'd had a chat with ChatGPT. It pulled together the PowerPoint. I tweaked it, and I had it ready for the call within less than 30 minutes. And in terms of productivity gain, absolutely mind-blowing. I also had a ChatGPT window open in another window, and it was creating some notes and some background notes for a different project. It's as if I'd got two assistants. So again, talking about how this is threatening jobs, is that a threat or is that the ally? I mean, how would you see that? Is that something that I should be, proud of and pleased about, or worried that ChatGPT can do what I used to do myself?
Yeah, I think that's where it's really helpful in terms of as an assistant. And that's where I think largely people will really see benefit from using it. The novelty wears off of generating random images that you can come up with in your head, but actually using it as you've described in a way that sits alongside you. And I think that's why Microsoft named Copilot, as in it is your co-pilot of navigating work. And it does sit alongside your Office suite. So as I said, there's someone I knew, I gave that example about analyzing all their emails. You can have a Teams call and it will summarize all the conversation that 10, 20 people have had in a video call, it will do the notes of that meeting for you and assign tasks to individuals. It is doing the job of an assistant that would have had to do that. So I think there's still going to be some roles there, like personal assistants or people who've been
Mm,
tasked with taking minutes in a meetings. Their roles potentially will change where AI can do that for you. But as people like entrepreneurs or leaders who want to use this as a co-pilot, hence the name, as I said, from Microsoft, I think that's where there's real value in doing like the legwork and freeing you up to do more important, valuable tasks rather than, oh, I've got to
mm,
wrestle with PowerPoint for an hour and a half.
yes.
You've saved all that time. So I think sitting alongside you as an assistant is where it's really, really beneficial.
Yeah.
And I think those roles like clerical roles and data entry roles, you can get it to analyze, upload 3 or 4 spreadsheets and say, analyze these spreadsheets and tell me the difference between them. And it's just, it's knowing what to ask almost is the challenge, I think. And there's certainly careers out there where people are coming up with, prompts. Prompt is the term that's used to feed the LLM. And I'm conscious we called it an LLM and didn't say what that was earlier. So that's large language model, but
Large
essentially
language
it's like
model. Yeah.
the chat assistants that people are familiar with. It's almost people are getting jobs as prompt engineers, as they're calling them. So people employed because they know what AI can do and they know what to ask it to do. So yeah, I think where that example you gave about PowerPoint and saving time, in some organizations that is somebody's job to do that PowerPoint.
Yeah.
So and again, it depends on the nature of the structure of the organization and resources, etc. But I think those kind of roles are potentially at risk. Some clerical roles, data entry
Yes.
roles, even it's going into animation and design. So there are threads on Reddit where people are talking about, VFX, visual effects artists
Mm,
saying a third of us could be gone soon.
yes.
Actually seeing that those kind of tasks that AI can do quite well or really well in some cases is where I think we're going to see the threat.
Yeah. So for some people, this is going to be a threat, and some people it's going to be an opportunity. And the World Economic Forum suggests that something like all jobs will be affected. But they claim that something like 78 million jobs globally will be created by AI, the advent of AI. Although I think it's unclear what type of jobs people will be doing in the future. The jobs that we think aren't going to be affected at the moment are the ones where you need that human to human connection. So things like
Mm.
nursing, childcare, um, jobs and roles where you need that emotional intelligence, that human sort of aspect. And also, until the robots come, the trade. So I think, everybody should retrain as a plumber. There's going to be a lot of plumbers out there, former bankers and data entry people and clerical people are all thinking about retraining as a plumber. Because at the moment, AI cannot do the really fine mechanical tasks that we find easy as humans. So yeah, for a while, some of those manual things, those manual jobs will be safe. But anything you can do on a computer, AI, if you like, is coming for you.
Yeah, the manual jobs are what seems relatively safe at the moment, as you said, although I watched a video the other day of Ocado, the online supermarket. They've
Yes.
got some very clever robots packing bags for customers now. And they've cracked what was a challenge for them picking up it was a bag of oranges. Apparently the
Right.
robots used to find that quite hard, but they actually used AI to develop a solution and it came up with a solution itself and found that if it gets a suction pad just on the label of the orange bag, those
Right.
net bags that you get, it can pick it up. And this
Yeah.
video is quite unsettling to see these things just as like a massive factory of them. And they're working above the humans below, apparently. So yeah, I get your point about plumbers and electricians, those kind of things. Probably be a long time before they get replaced by humanoid robots. But yeah, it's interesting times for
I,
sure.
I think where you've got a task which is very repeatable, and the boundaries in which that task change. So if you're thinking
Hmm.
about like an Amazon warehouse, there's parcels coming down a conveyor belt. Occasionally the parcel will be this way, occasionally the parcel will be that way. Until recently, you needed a human who could look at that parcel and pick it up and so on. Where those tasks are fairly constrained, I think we're seeing robots coming into those sort of areas, like factories where they make cars. There's the Optimus robot from Tesla, isn't there?
Hmm.
Where AI at the moment, probably, he says, maybe 10, 20 years out, this podcast might date very quickly. Asking a robot to come in your house, go upstairs, carry a step ladder upstairs, all the tools, open that step ladder, climb up to the lamp, to undo the lamp, to then rescrew. Do you know that something like that? I
Mm.
can't see a robot being able to do that for a while. I'm not saying it'll be impossible. So those jobs are going to stay safe. But as I say, anything you can do on a computer, whether that's writing, creating images, marketing. I mean, the whole marketing industry is going to change because
Mm.
I can create an entire marketing plan using AI. I can create all the images I want using AI, video, copy. Yeah. So this is what we're saying, I think, in this episode is AI is both a threat and an opportunity. So I think what we need to start thinking about is how can you better prepare for this future that, as we said, it's not going to go backwards. It's going to accelerate, isn't it? So have you got any ideas on how people can be better placed in this AI future that we're entering?
Well, the first thing, as they say, is knowledge is key. So
Yeah.
actually try and become, by listening to this, hopefully you're learning some stuff if AI is new to you as a listener. But as I said on a previous episode, there's lots of free resources out there. And about being familiar with, it's almost like know your enemy. It's not necessarily your enemy, but it could be. So
Mm.
start to get familiar with it. Don't hide from it. Have a play with it if you haven't had a chance already. Look at some free online resources, some online videos. A lot of these tools are free to use in their basic form, and you generally can't break them. So there's no harm in having a go, trying it out. Even asking the AI, say, I'm new to using AI, please give me some guidance, tell me what you can do, show me what you can do, so you can actually use it to help educate you itself. So I think starting with getting some knowledge and getting some experience will be really, really helpful. Speak to peers in your organization or family members who may be using it already. You try and learn from them. So I think the first step is to start to do some research yourself, to start to understand what you're dealing with, see what the opportunities are, and potentially what those threats are as well.
It's interesting you say about using AI. You can use AI to teach you about AI.
Yeah.
I think any AI, I think Google have got their study mode. I think ChatGPT have got study with me. So you could actually put a prompt into, you could probably say to AI, write me a prompt to teach me about AI. It would then give you the prompt, actually the text. You then put that back into an AI to create a curriculum for you to learn about AI. So probably the best place to start is AI itself. But yeah, I
Mm.
think the first thing is that awareness, playing with this stuff. I think human beings have got advantages over AI. We've got that emotional intelligence, we've got that human sort of intuition and creativity. But you have to educate yourself in this. And something we've talked about in previous episodes is this idea of a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. You may be a person that says, this is not for me, I'm not interested, I don't want to touch it. I understand why that might be the case, but you really do want to examine that attitude and sort of say, right, I need to be open to this, I need to explore this, because it could be coming from my job, or it could certainly be coming for parts of my job. And if you are in a vulnerable position in your workplace, what would be better, either learning more about AI and becoming a bit of an expert, because you could become the expert in the office, couldn't you? Become the go-to person. Do you remember there was always a person in the past where, I don't know if this was ever you, but they could fix the computer in work. They knew how to. Were
Yeah,
you
that
ever
was
that
me, I'm
person?
afraid. Yeah, I was the quote expert.
Yeah,
Well, Scott will fix it.
exactly. So there was somebody that knew how to reinstall DOS or something, or I'm really showing my age there, but somebody who knew how to fix a computer in the office. You could be the person in the office is the AI person, I guess, if you wanted to be. So I think, yeah, having a growth mindset, having awareness, having education, but a reality check that this is changing things for all of us. It's nobody's going to be not affected by this, don't you think? Everybody's affected
Mm.
by this change.
Yeah.
So how do you, if you think, let's say we accelerate 3, 4, 5 years out, how do we suggest to people that they actually are better prepared? Are there sort of any practical things that you would do? I mean, you mentioned things like education. Anything you think are the things that people could start doing to prepare themselves for this future?
So I think people could start to think of AI a bit like a new team member.
Hmm.
So, as I said, that co-pilot reference to what Microsoft call it. So, think about it as smart. It doesn't get tired, but to balance that, it can be a bit unpredictable and it can make mistakes. And I think that's important for people to realize is a term people may or may not have heard of called hallucination, where AI is convinced it's right and it's not. And we need to not always take it at face value. If you actually see the interface when you're using Gemini, Google's One, or ChatGPT, quite often they have a disclaimer right at the bottom that says ChatGPT, Gemini can make mistakes because, they could get into trouble if people take everything it says literally. So it's not perfect. So treat it with that in mind, and, always good to cast that human eye over it. So yeah, I think treat it like a new team member that's smart and doesn't get tired. So think about how can you leverage it to help you as an individual and as a team. And I think organizations need to build trust with how AI is used in the organizations, and that means transparency. So employees want to know if AI is being used to do their job evaluation, for example. That's only fair. So that transparency is important. And if people in a company think, oh, the bosses are using AI and they're going to use it to replace us, that's going to affect performance and morale and all those kind of things as well. So I think companies need to be transparent and actually see AI as that companion. And I think, as we said on a previous episode, actually, there are some companies that think, right, this is going to help me replace all my employees. But actually, you want to be in a company that says, this can help my employees. This can free my employees up to do the really valuable stuff that AI just can't do. As you said, that human-centric thing. Maybe it's more time to have empathy with the customer, to understand customers' problems. I've always been an advocate of that, getting your teams and organizations close to the customers. And the customers maybe are becoming increasingly more familiar with interacting with AI and chatbots to deal with customer experience and things like that. But I think that will never replace that human to human contact. So I think companies that see it as an ally and companion rather than this is going to save us money and this is going to threaten, this is going to get rid of all our staff, will flourish. And actually, I was reading an article the other day where companies have spent lots and lots of money on bringing in AI, and now they're having to pay consultants to come in and help them undo the mess that's been created. So I think they were taking the wrong approach again, or didn't
Yeah, that's
understand
right.
what they were bringing in.
I love the fact you said see it as a sort of partner or somebody in your office, like a sort of co-worker. To me, it's almost as though you've got this super bright, eager to please PhD, MBA person, young person, as it were. Imagine that they're not, obviously real, although people do talk to AIs as if they are real. But this junior person's come in, they're super bright. They are so clever. They've come out of university, they're bursting with knowledge, but they're so eager to please that they will actually tell you some things which aren't correct because they don't want to be seen to be wrong. So AI can, as you say, hallucinate. I think the hallucinations on GPT-5 are claimed to be lower than ever. And of course, human beings get things wrong. So I think for me, you're absolutely right. See AI as a partner. Do not see it as a threat. See it as something that is exciting. But one of the things you could do as an individual is you could be the person that's very good at checking things. You could become the person that's very good at double checking and triple checking things. You could show your colleagues that, yeah, I know that you created that with AI. However, I did some other research that sort of undermines that. Obviously not to show off or to sort of make people look bad, but if you develop those classic research skills, you're going to actually become even more valuable as a person that double checks and sense checks AI. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's ironic that not relying on AI could actually make you a very valuable asset. I also think that to protect yourself, it's probably worth thinking about your job and saying to yourself realistically, looking at some of these researches, is your job at threat? It may not feel like it now, but go out 3, 4, 5 years. And let's imagine ChatGPT 8 is actually really transformative. It's important for you to think, is my job really safe? And if it isn't, what am I going to do about it? And if you're in a leadership role and you are looking for help, we can help with that. We can look at it from a sort of psychological perspective. I know you, Scott, could look at it from a sort of work design perspective. But there's some real big questions. I mean, what happens if AI gets something wrong? Who's accountable if AI gets this wrong?
Exactly. That's one of the challenges because the AI did it. It wasn't me.
And as we said, I mean, if AI is hallucinating, how many lines of code are already in different softwares and apps that are buggy that we didn't spot because it was written by AI? How many contracts have been signed and agreed where there's something in there that the AI hallucinated? I don't want to scare people, but we've seen that, as you mentioned, there was that map. I saw that online where they asked AI to create a map of North America and it just got it completely wrong. Now,
Yeah.
if it can't do that yet, it can do some things which are remarkable. People are using it to writing contracts. They're using it to write job descriptions. There's some absolute landmines already in the world, and we'll probably
Government
only
policy in
find them.
America.
Pardon?
Government policy in America, I was reading.
Government policy, yeah. I mean, God forbid, and I'm touching table here, but no airlines start dropping out of the skies because AI has written some code for the air traffic control software, and there's a bug in it that nobody spotted. Nuclear submarines, God knows what could happen because AI at the moment isn't as good as we think it is. So yeah, it's scary, exciting, but it's not going to go backwards, is it?
No, it does feel like it's those kind of dramatic scenarios where it goes horribly wrong. Feels like a matter of when, not if, before maybe the world gets that wake up call and goes, oh, actually, we've put far too much faith in this too soon. Especially, as you said, like nuclear arms. It's been used in the military a lot already. It's just a little bit. I don't want to be doom and gloom, but
no, I don't want to be doom and gloom, and I hope that nobody's injured or ill, killed, or there's no harm to anybody. Just that all those organizations, the governments, the militaries, the industrial complexes, they're full of human beings, and human beings take shortcuts. And if you're not, which is what we're talking about in this episode, you don't have that AI literacy, you are already using AI to cut corners, to save time, to be more productive. But AI hallucinates. So I guarantee it has caused problems that maybe we haven't seen the beginning of yet, unfortunately.
Yeah. So to wrap up, I think from my perspective, AI isn't necessarily our enemy just yet.
No.
But it is a test of how fast we can learn, adapt, and lead. It almost feels like potentially we're in a race with it now.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's not exactly man versus machine. I shouldn't say man, I should person versus machine. But it should be person plus machine. If we get this right as a society, if we get this right as organizations, the opportunity is mind-boggling, the future that we could all have. But I think as an individual, you need to increase your own individual value. You cannot ignore this, and you really want to see AI as your ally, your friend, not your foe.
Yeah. So I'd like to set our listeners a challenge this week to identify one task where you think AI could save you some time and give it a go, but also to balance that, think about where you can outperform AI still.
Yeah, and if you're wondering where to start, how to begin, how to bring this into your team, message me or Scott. We'd be very happy to help you do this transformation and bring AI into your organization successfully. Thank you for listening to the Work Unravelled podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss the next one.
If you'd like Andrew or me to help you or your business, whether it is for team productivity, leadership coaching, or communication skills, our website addresses are in the show notes. Thanks, and until the next time.